are now live.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our FPV FC Town Hall. With us tonight, we've got myself, Josh, Dave, Dan, and Alex. Blunty will not be joining us this evening, nor will Rob. They have prior engagements that they need to take care of. So, wish them the best, and hopefully, we'll see them next time. Um, I do have a couple articles I want to cover tonight. Some of them just informational, some of them definitely interesting for the FPV crowd, and even beyond that, something maybe a little controversial that we can talk about. Let's see. Let me get the right window here. So first up, this comes from Amazon, and this was released today. So this is their new Prime Air drone that can fly in rain and deliver packages up to 5 pounds in under an hour. Um, so I just thought this was unique in terms of pictures of the aircraft. Um, and this will deliver to customers in 3 locations in the US, as well as cities in Italy and the UK by the end of 2024. This is called the Mark 30, and it's part of the latest expansion to the Prime Air program. And the design and testing of the Mark 30 came together in about 18 months through innovative and collaborative work of Amazon engineers, but it really took many years of development and dozens of prototypes to lead to this moment. Um, we've covered a bunch of Prime Air's drones in the past, as well as some of their opportunities, I would say, with not staying up in the air and maybe causing a fire here and there. Um, so this drone, let me flip through these pictures. These
It's
are
so weird looking. It's got a little bit of
it.
Stormtrooper something Star Trekky or Star Warsy look to it too.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. And so it uses sense and avoid technology that allows them to detect and avoid obstacle, including people, pets, and property. So your little furry creatures will hopefully be safe. Innovative safety critical features will allow this drone to deliver packages to customers with smaller backyards and in more densely populated suburban areas. I thought this was interesting. So if you look at the aircraft right here, if you can see my cursor at the top, the the top and bottom one rotors are tilted in, whereas the ones on the side are flat out. So it's definitely an interesting way for it to maintain stability. And here's a close up of those. Those are the top ones, and I think these are the bottom ones. So they're significantly curved in, I would imagine, for stability, and they are large motors. Um, so the Mark 30 is quieter than previous models. Prime Air's flight science team custom designed the propellers to reduce the Mark 30's perceived noise by almost half. Even as the drone is descending, it's still quieter than the range of sounds you'll generally hear in a neighborhood.
But they didn't
It
go with
has
toroidal props?
apparently not. No, no, definitely not.
An interesting aspect of those two wings is for those fixed wing aficionados in the group,
Oh yeah, up here.
they'll recall the stagger wing beach of the 1930s and 1940s, and so to have the lower wing forward of the top wing is unusual. And there were a couple of superior aircraft that adopted that. One of which
Oop,
was the stagger wing Beechcraft.
interesting. Did not know that. Let's see. Let's see. So improved range and vertical takeoff before transitioning into horizontal wing-borne flight. So those two those two horizontal fins are actually wings, and they provide lift. Carry packages up to 5 pounds and deliver to customers quickly, typically in 1 hour or less. Um, Here's a size comparison. So here's the thing that bothers me about this, and I think has bothered me about this for a while, is the sheer size requirements of this thing just to deliver 5 pounds, right? Like, I mean, not including all the electronics packages and sense and avoid, and whatever else they crammed in there, but literally just to deliver 5 pounds, this thing is huge. It's massive, and I'm curious the efficiency of this compared to, let's just say, a delivery driver, right?
Well, it's not
I
about
mean, let's
efficiency, I don't think.
no, I don't think it is either. I think it's about a level of speed and whatnot. But I just, I question it, and I always have questioned the drone delivery scheme. Like, I get like, Zipline's got a good model. They use fixed wings with parachutes, um, and they can deliver packages fairly quickly with that. But it's just a little interesting to me. So, um, just a thought. But I mean, compared even to an internal combustion engine, how much electricity is this thing using to deliver one 5 pound package, or versus the energy usage of a car or delivery truck, right? So
Did they
um,
talk about the cost point of this? This thing must cost a fortune.
no, not at all. So it can fly in clear weather and light rain, but they don't talk about the cost anything. So
I did see another article where they're talking about, I think it's this drone is delivering prescriptions in a city in
mhm.
Texas.
Yes, I did see that. I didn't want to double up on the Amazon articles, but
Sort of
I
the
mean,
same article in a way, an
yeah,
extension
I
of
mean,
it.
I'm definitely an avid Amazon orderer. My wife definitely is. There's a new package on the doorstep every day. It's fine. I'm curious about the feasibility of this long term. So definitely interesting. We'll see how it pans out for them. I think there's a couple operations out there that are doing it right. Zipline's one of them, and we'll it'll be left to be seen if Amazon can pull it off too. So.
Yeah, I think the Google Wing design of having a frangible fuselage that's made of styrofoam is another
Mhm.
great way to go. So the Google Wing has taken a different approach to the design. Design it simple, design it cheap,
Mhm.
and design it light, light, light. And they've had what, a couple 100,000 deliveries, I think, in Australia. So
Mhm.
another company that's probably doing it right.
I just
Yep.
can't look at that picture you have on the screen now and not imagine laser beams being shot out of those little black antennas at the
I
bottom. Choo, 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 choo.
Amazon lasers.
That's just what it looks like to me.
Can I
Yeah,
FPV it?
I am too, and
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Does it count as X class?
Definitely, probably would. Yes. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. I'm curious if these motors on the side, if they're like Osprey style, where they tilt
It looks like there's a
any
slight gap
vertical.
around the wing inside the fuselage there.
Yeah. So definitely interesting. Definitely curious to see one of these in action. I've not seen one fly. So all right, next. This is where it gets a little controversial. So and this would be a great conversation for Rob to chime in on, and maybe we'll get some feedback on him. But should governments need a warrant to spy on you with a drone? So the Michigan Supreme Court will hear opening arguments today in a case that could decide whether the practice is allowed. So a Michigan township sued a local family over a minor zoning violation, but the case could determine whether governments can spy on citizens without warrants. Today, the Michigan Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments on the case. Todd and Heather Maxon live in Long Lake Township on 5 acres of land with 2 garages. Todd likes to work on cars, so he keeps them on the property. In 2008, the township sued, accusing them of storing junk, which would be a zoning violation. In exchange for dropping the charges, the couple agreed not to expand their collection. Neighbors later complained that the Maxons had indeed acquired more cars, but the collection was not visible from the road. Instead of getting a warrant, or since nothing was visible from the road, dropping the issue altogether, the township hired a private drone company to fly over the property and take pictures several times between 2010 and 2018. Citing the pictures, the township sued the Maxons for violating the agreement. The Maxons argued since the township never sought a warrant, the pictures violated their Fourth Amendment rights. While the Michigan Court of Appeals agreed, the state Supreme Court remanded the case back and asked the appeals court to determine whether the exclusionary rule applies to this dispute. Under the exclusionary rule, evidence obtained illegally cannot be used at trial. This time, the Court of Appeals sided with the township. It agreed that the search was a violation of the Fourth Amendment rights, but decided that it didn't matter since the case was civil and not criminal. The exclusionary rule was not intended to operate in this arena and serves no valuable function. It goes on to say that the evidence should remain free to use against them at trial. The social cost of excluding evidence in such a case would be substantial, as a public nuisance would potentially remain unabated. So this kind of goes into, do you believe that a search warrant is required to come onto your property to try and cite you for civil or criminal issues? And I mean, in the case of in this case, it's hard to decide because it's the township, it's the township themselves, not the police who were going after the gentleman. But at the same time, it's just like gets a little funky. So, thoughts on this, guys?
I would say this doesn't really have anything to do with drones, or shouldn't, unless they were like flying the drone into somebody's shed or something. You
Same
could
thing with an
easily
airplane.
get the same thing if you're flying a manned helicopter over their property. If you waited for Google Earth images to update, if you flew a weather balloon over their property, like put a stick with a GoPro on it from far enough away, like a camera, like the drone is just one of a million ways they could have gotten these images, and it really has nothing to do with the case, or shouldn't.
Well, I mean, everything. I get where you're coming from, and you're right. I mean, an airplane flying over could have taken pictures, satellite imagery could have updated.
Do they need a
But
warrant to look at Google Earth? I mean, you can see cars from Google Earth.
I mean, you're not wrong, and so it's an
Yeah,
interesting
to me,
thing.
to me, it's I hope they're able to declare that a warrant is required. When if
Mhm.
we think of the recent case of the FBI being cited for 702,000 infractions of when they failed to get a warrant, and so they were that was on wiretaps, and so they decided to take wiretaps of citizens as well as people calling abroad. So I think we're headed to dark waters in this country, and anything that we can do to uphold the rule of law would be a good thing in my book.
Well, and this goes back to this was maybe a couple months ago when was it NYPD put up a bunch of drones and were
Well, they said
spying
that they
on
would
people.
use them instead of sending in an officer if there was somebody reported an issue, so that the
Right.
officer wouldn't
Right,
be out of the
for
way of
noise
harm.
violations or
Right.
something,
Yeah. Now,
right?
interesting what Rob has explained to me, that in situations like that, where you've got an active shooter situation, you can de-escalate the situation with a drone, and you not only keep the perpetrator a little safer, you keep officers safer, and so
Mhm.
not a bad thing in that situation. Obviously, the context matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're out there looking for things, that's different than
Hmm.
using one when somebody's called you to
As a
that location
Here,
as a
Correct.
response.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds fair. So I just thought it was interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this case pans out. Drones a new technology. We say new, right? Those of us that have been in it for a while, or it's new. But to a lot of people who are just finding out about things or catching up on drones, or it's new to them. So I imagine there's going to be more and more of this. Uh, coming about. So, speaking of drones as first responders, so we've got D Drone. launches airspace awareness for drone as first responder programs. So, Virginia-based Dedrone recently announced the launch of Dedrone Beyond, an all-new platform designed to help state, local, territorial, and tribal law enforcement and emergency services conduct beyond visual line of sight operations using UAVs as first responders. Powered by the computer vision enabled AI, Dedrone Beyond is designed to enhance situational awareness and be interoperable with other systems, including Drone Sense's Axon Air. So, for those who don't know, Axon is the now owner, primary owner of the. It's a big division, but Taser International falls under Axon now, as well as a lot of the body cams that police wear. I mean, they're a provider of that stuff. So, drones can provide more than just a bird's eye view of a situation. They can arrive at a scene faster than humans and then enable assessment of an emerging incident to provide critical information for law enforcement and first responders to make better decisions before sending in personnel. Kind of going back to what we were talking about, utilizing drones to de escalate a situation. Today, this potential is hampered by the need to always have human eyes on a drone. Dedrone Beyond unlocks that potential and makes it easier for law enforcement across the country to implement scalable drone first responders or DFR programs. Dedrone Beyond is a natural extension for Dedrone, leveraging the company's deep knowledge of technology. Let's see. To fulfill the collision avoidance requirement to receive a COA necessary for beyond visual line of sight operation, under current FAA guidelines, Dedrone Beyond adds automatic dependent surveillance broadcasting detection to their existing suite of detection and sensor fusion technologies. So, definitely interesting to be able to see how this goes along. You're still having to, and this is another area where Rob would come in handy is, and I think he's talked about it before. What's it take to actually launch an operation? How quickly can you get approval? That kind of thing to launch a first responder operation like they're talking about here. Um, but it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Thoughts? Nothing? All right. So this is an article. Sorry, I have to scroll back to the top here. It's long. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but this is one Dave sent in, and this is Superhuman Speed: How Autonomous Drones Beat the Best Human Racers.
Did they beat you, Alex?
No, they didn't beat me. I'm not the best human racer.
So, and that might be arguable, but they're definitely some high key drone racers. So this is Alex Vanover and Thomas Bitmata went up against these guys. So I'm gonna paraphrase the article a whole lot because this thing is incredibly long, but it's definitely worth a read. And I will post this. Let me get my.
So while you're doing that, some of the things that struck me that very interesting is the compute power of these racing drones that are racing these two fantastic racers was happening off board, and so pretty amazing that they're sending this much data outbound to a server to calculate and calculate back. So that was impressive, but it also struck me, and there's no cameras, just sensors. So they were able to lighten up the drone, and also it was, to me, it was like a little unfair to not have it fully autonomous in the sense that it was a self-contained unit. So not too hard to have
that.
Well,
not too hard to have a massive amount of compute power on board.
To be fair, the human pilot's compute power is remote to the drone as well.
That's well said.
100%.
That's well said.
I mean, and so a couple of things. So they were so at the beginning they were watching the drone go through a predetermined course, And that's where when you first sent the article, Dave, that's where I went. I'm like, that's not fair to race against a robotic drone that's flown the course probably hundreds of thousands of times, right? And and they talk about that. So the drone comes to a halt after completing a 75-meter course in 5.3 seconds. So that's incredibly fast. I mean, that is incredibly fast. And I mean, the author here says he just gave up trying to film it because you just can't keep up. And
Yeah, to me, a great thing about this is that, we read articles about, oh, we used a state of the art drone, and it's, it's some, video drone from 10 years ago. So, and this is in IEEE Spectrum. So if you're an electrical engineering student, you know who IEEE Spectrum is. And so it's a highly reputable electrical engineering publication and organization. So this is tremendous in my view that this says that this type of technology can go mainstream because there are millions of electrical engineers reading this publication. So pretty cool
absolutely.
coverage.
Yeah. So the drones creators were from the Robotics and Perception Group at the University of Zurich. Um, I don't even know what I just watched, said Alex Vanover as a drone comes to a hovering halt after completing a 75-meter course in 5.3 seconds. That was beautiful. Thomas Bitmata adds, one day my dream is to be able to achieve that. Vanover and Bitmata are arguably the world's best drone racing pilots, multi-year champions of highly competitive international drone racing circuits, and they're here to prove that human pilots have not been bested by robots yet. So comparing these high performance quadrotors to the kinds of drones that hobbyists use for photography is like comparing a jet fighter to a light aircraft. Racing quadrotors are heavily optimized for speed and agility. A typical racing quadrotor can output 35 Newton meters, 26 pound-feet of force with 4 motors spinning tri-bladed propellers at 30,000 RPM. The drone weighs just 870 grams, including an 1800 milliamp hour battery that lasts a mere 2 minutes. This extreme power to weight ratio allows the drone to accelerate at 4.5 Gs, reaching 100 kilometers per hour in less than a second. And I don't know about you guys, and I'm sure everybody who talks to non-drone pilots about what they fly, somebody will, what's the questions? How high does it go?
How
How fast
fast does
does
it
it
go?
go? And
How
how long
far?
can you fly, right?
What does it
How long can you
cost?
fly? And
How
I was just
far?
like, well, my battery lasts like 2.5 minutes,
Can
right? And
I
they're
fly
just
it?
like, yeah, right. And that's always everybody's like, that's it. And it's just like, yeah, when you're pulling the amps on the motors that we pull, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So the autonomous racing quad rotors have similar specs, but the one we just saw fly doesn't have a camera because it doesn't need one. Instead, the hangar has been equipped with 36 camera infrared tracking system that can localize the drone within millimeters 400 times every second. By combining the location data with a map of the course, an offboard computer can steer the drone along an optimal trajectory, which would be difficult, if not impossible, even for the best human pilot to match. These autonomous drones are, in a sense, cheating. The human pilots have access to single view only from camera mounted on the drone, along with their knowledge of the course and flying experience. So it's really no surprise that $400,000 worth of sensors and computers can outperform a human pilot. But the reason why these professional drone pilots came to Zurich is to see how they would do in a competition that's actually fair. So I'm going to skip down. There's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of technology. And it's definitely worth reading. I did post the article in our Discord, but I am going to skip down. These are the actual drones that they used. You can see they're using motion capture balls to orient the drone in space. So I'm going to kind of go down to the race day. So the race starts on Saturday morning. Sunlight streams through the hangar skylights and open doors. As the human pilots and autonomous drones start to fly test laps around the track, it's immediately obvious that the vision-based drones are not performing as well as they did the night before. They're regularly clipping the sides of the gates and spinning out of control, a telltale sign that the vision-based state estimation is being thrown off. The roboticists seem frustrated. The human pilots seem cautiously optimistic. The winner of the competition will fly the 3 fastest consecutive laps without crashing. The humans and the robots pursue that goal in essentially the same way by adjusting the parameters of their flight to find the point at which they're barely in control. Quad rotors tumble into gates, walls, floors, and ceilings as the racers push their limits. This is a normal part of drone racing, and there are dozens of replacement drones and staff to fix them when they break. Alex, we need to hire you some staff.
Ah,
I
I'll
I
take
would
it.
guess Vanover's drones are cheaper to fix and replace than the
Probably,
autonomous ones
yeah.
when they crash.
I don't think so, because
I mean,
they
if
pretty
you
they
think
said
about it,
parts?
all the computing's off board.
Yeah, but they had
Yeah, so
more,
if you-
a lot more on there. There was still more
I think the
sensors and
toughest part is probably just getting the motion capture balls in a good enough spot.
like
and
on that
calibrate.
blue one there. There's like a whole Raspberry Pi in there, and there's those
Oh, yeah,
cameras
that
on
one,
the
but-
front and all kinds of stuff that could break.
Just
So,
don't crash.
Yeah.
let's see. There will be several different metrics by which to decide whether humans or robots are faster. The external localization system used to actively control the autonomous drone last night is being used today for passive tracking, recording times for each segment of the course, each lap of the course, and for each 3-lap multi-drone race. As the human pilots get comfortable with the course, their lap times decrease 10 seconds per lap, then 8 seconds, then 6.5 seconds. Hidden behind their FPV headsets, the pilots are concentrating intensely as their shrieking quad rotors whirl through the gate. Swift, meanwhile, which is the robotic ones, is much more consistent, typically clocking lap times below 6 seconds, but frequently unable to complete 3 consecutive laps without crashing. Seeing Swift's lap times, the human pilots push themselves and their lap times decrease further. It's going to be very close. The head-to-head races start with Swift and a human pilot launching side by side at the sound of the starting horn. The human is immediately at a disadvantage because a person's reaction time is slow compared to that of a robot. Swift can launch in less than 100 milliseconds, while a human takes about 220 milliseconds to hear a noise and react to it. On the course, the human pilots can almost keep up with Swift. The robot's best 3-lap time is 17.465 seconds, while Bitmata's is 18.746, and Vanover manages 17.956 seconds. But in 9 head-to-head races with Swift, Vanover wins 4, and in 7 races, Bitmata wins 3. That's because Swift doesn't finish the majority of the time, colliding either with a gate or with its opponent. The human
Can't beat
pilots
them, you can take them out.
Well, here's the fun part. The human pilots can recover from collisions, even relaunching from the ground if necessary. Swift doesn't have those skills. The robot is faster, but it's also less robust.
Mhm.
So, definitely pretty cool. Definitely check out the article. They break down some of the technology for the robots, and kind of a breakdown on how they fly versus how humans fly, so on and so forth. So check it out. It's in the Discord. Definitely a really great article. And you don't see a lot of FPV centric articles that come out on a day-to-day basis or even a weekly basis where it's the focus of especially something this big. So definitely check it out. So it would have been a sight to see. I mean, just being able to see the drones race each other. I mean, that had to be a little nerve-wracking. It's a testament to these two guys that they, it's like no problem, we'll take it on. So but
What I like about about it is for the drones to be able to actually get to the speed that they were at, they still had to have Vanover and Bitmata fly so it can learn how they flew,
yeah.
because they still needed humans to give it a start on the flight path.
Well, yeah, and you have to. I mean, with any type of AI system and computer learning, it's taking in all the stimuli, right? Whether that's training it through actual pilots, training it, or through basically try and fail and repeat, right?
And it helps to start someplace already somewhat successful versus having it to figure out all those possible failures first. Before, like flying
Right.
backwards, did that work? No. Flying to the left, did that work? No. Okay, flying forwards,
Right.
that one worked. They could skip some of
Absolutely.
those well-known failures first. Kind of like
I
us
am
flying in simulators first.
I
Get
mean,
the
what I would
crashes
like
out
to
of the
see
way.
is and I know that, like, I mean, with multi GP, right? There's the course, right? It's the pre-planned course. You can fly it in simulators. You can set it up in your backyard. You can practice, practice, practice. But it would be interesting to see uh, a robot be able to take something like a fresh course, and these are the gates, this is the path, and how that would compare to an actual human walking up to a course for the first time as well,
Yeah, do a
and seeing
course
what that
walk.
would look like. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
want
maybe,
and with only one camera input too. That's what I really want to see. Is
yeah,
one video source input, no other sensors, and it
yeah,
flies through the course. That would be
definitely.
impressive.
So, but anyway, that's all I have for tonight. Dave, what do you have, sir?
Well, I've been chatting with one of our FPVFC members, and in a couple of weeks he'll be volunteering to share a little of the technology he's been working on. He looked at the specs that within the means of compliance for remote ID, and he said, I can build a remote ID broadcast module. And while that's a non-trivial piece of work, he's done it. And so he and his partner have put together a broadcast module, and in a couple of weeks we'll share the details from that. They are submitting their application to the FAA for their declaration of compliance, and we know, and I've talked to this gentleman, that fogging glass is the requirement to get in a DOC approval. But most of us take that application very seriously, because as a business owner, you're attesting to the fact that you have indeed gone through the testing, gone through the all of the bench testing and field testing and the designs, and that you have tried to maximize the distance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, ad nauseum. So we'll look forward to being able to share some of that work in a couple of weeks. So that's to me it was fun, and to me a bit of a audacious in the most positive sense, that someone says, "Well, I can do that," and they did. So pretty cool. Um, just a couple things to mention up on our website. We put. I've been talking about this for a couple weeks. Been behind on schedule, and I'm responsible for the lateness of the schedule. But we have another remote ID discussion. First and foremost is our view on the enforcement deferral. We also have discussion based on the two interviews that Kevin Morris of the FAA did, first in July and then in September. The first one with Geeksvana, the second with Pilot Institute and Alien Drones. And I have to say, my hat is off to Kevin Morris. He was really gracious in responding to us multiple times, back and forth, to get this refined and accurate. I learned a couple of things. One of the things that I learned, and it's a correction I should make, is that if you add a broadcast module to a DIY drone, and you use it for Part 107 purposes, you can use it for operations over people. I had been saying that as well as beyond visual line of sight, you couldn't. You cannot use a broadcast module for beyond visual line of sight. You can for operations over people, as long as it also complies with a category 1, 2, or 3. The other thing that I mentioned, and this one is, if you want to fly for recreational for 44809 and your drone is under 250 grams, don't register it. If you have registered it, you then need to use a broadcast module on it. So unregister it at that point. And the FAA is waiving the registration unregistration fee of $5 until December 31st, 2023.
For Part
So
107 registrations.
thank you. Yes. So my thanks to Kevin. That's up on our website. And so team effort, and I'll take the credit for the delay. In addition, there was a question 2 weeks ago on when do we anticipate the restock of the Flight Test FT Easy ID broadcast module that should be back in stock early next week. And so thrilled that the manufacturer, Tritium Electronics, is beating their own dates, and they're also speeding up their own processes. And of course, they're made in the USA, and they're out of Ohio. Also, quick mention on the new DAC. This is the Drone Advisory Council. The chair, John Hagrains, CEO of Aloft, has pulled a group of us together. I'm privileged to have FPV Freedom Coalition be a part of this work, and we've started. First meeting was on 12th of October last week, and we're getting still in the storming and forming, getting things up and running. But I'm optimistic that this will be a group of people who will have access and reach across the industry, and hopefully have some push with the FAA to try to get some changes affected. And I believe that's all I had, Josh.
I was going to go back to your Easy ID, talking about how that was coming back in stock, and mention that it took us a little while, but we eventually figured out how to get the GPS pass-through to work into Betaflight. I don't think that was done by our last meeting. I think that was just after our last meeting.
Yeah.
So the really quick rundown, if you do have a Flight Test Easy ID and you want to use the GPS for return to home or get coordinates on your OSD, that you will have to make sure you're updated to at least Betaflight 443, which I assume isn't out yet. So you have to have the Zulu or nightly build of 443, or anything newer, like when 445 comes out. Is that what's next? 445, not 445, 4.5. Too many numbers, sorry. And you have to do a couple of tricks in the UI to get the MSP port to allow GPS over MSP. And once you get those couple of things figured out and you're on that right version of Betaflight, then you'll get your satellites showing up in Betaflight and you're all good. And if people have questions on how to do that, I've got a video out there, or you can email us or ask us and wherever we're at, and we'll try to help you out.
And Dan's video is up on the resellers pages, Get FPV and Pyrodrone, and I believe Rotor Riot as well. And thanks to Dan for creating that video, and my thanks as well, as we have said, to both the ArduPilot development team as well as Betaflight development. They were incredibly responsive to us and to our questions and to help. And Betaflight dev jumped and created a PR and helped us right away. So we are very grateful for that. And therefore, we've got Betaflight connectivity with our remote ID module. So pretty cool.
Someone on YouTube's asking if they're working on a version that would better fit quads. Is 20 by 20 a problem for anyone testing it? I have 20 by the size of the board currently fits fine in my drones. I would assume
the external size is 34 by 34, and with the bolt size is fitting a 20 by 20 pattern. We felt that was a pattern that is becoming somewhat universal and larger, and certainly capable in racing drones.
At least anything 250 grams or above.
Right. Is that did that answer the question?
Yeah, I don't believe Flight Test is working on making a smaller board size version of this, at least not anytime soon.
Not currently.
It's pretty tight. When you look at the board, you're like, wow, there's all this real estate. But it's a multi-layer.
Also taken up by the GPS.
And it's also taken up by the ground plane that's inside the printed circuit board. So they're really trying to allow enough room for an appropriate ground plane for the antennas.
So that would be it right there. So it's pretty tiny. It is very small. I mean, I've seen images of smaller ones. Dave, do you have a couple in hand that are smaller?
I don't. I didn't bring them with me. The Holy Stone is small. Has its own onboard battery. I think the weight is comparable. FT Easy ID is at 10 grams, and we're selecting a number of broadcast modules to test and evaluate. And our nominal criteria is something that's in approximately the $100 range and around 10 to 15 grams or less. And so if it's 30 grams and $300, we don't think someone's going to be really interested in our community for that. So we'll pass on evaluating
Yeah,
modules in
those
that
bigger
category.
ones. Yeah, those bigger ones may be good for people flying DJIs or something like that that aren't equipped with any kind of remote ID, trying to update legacy hardware, that kind of stuff. Camera rigs, where heavier modules don't make much of a difference. But for what we do, FPV, freestyle, I mean, even taking it to flight test level and the foamies, right? A lot of it, every gram matters. So, it's definitely needs to be in that lighter category for sure. Any other questions, Dan?
No, I think that answered their question.
Okay. Alex, do you have anything for us tonight, sir?
Yes. Next week into the weekend is the Global Championships for Multi GP at No Quarter Ranch. So starting out on Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday will be the sport class championship. So qualifying will be most of Tuesday, or it'll be all day Tuesday. Then Wednesday will be brackets for sport class with the finals under the lights. Then Thursday we'll start pro class with qualifying into Friday, and then brackets on Saturday with the finals for the Pro Class Global Championships. As long as there are no rain days, should be next Saturday, and it's going to be down at No Quarter Ranch. It will be live streamed on the Multi GP channel, and I think it's going to be a lot more interesting this year. So,
Are they asking for No, that was just 1 year, right? They were asking for volunteers to watch the live stream to make sure people weren't cheating, or
they do that it depends. I think they'll have some virtual judges, but for the most part, it's in person. I think now that was when it's hard to get people
sure.
in person, but now it's kind of going back to where it's like 50-50. There will be some virtual judges, and those virtual judges are generally they have a separate live stream. So instead of all the graphics that get in the way, they get one where it's just the video feed. So say when the graphics change during or towards the end of a race, they still get the main feed so that they can see if anyone's messed up. And really all they're looking for is anything that looks suspicious. Because the people who are doing that review aren't the final judges. They just highlight something. Oh, this pilot clipped gate A, and I'm not sure that they went in this gate. And someone else from the multi GP team will review that time frame of it and determine whether or not the pilot went through the course properly or not. And so
Amazing.
It's getting
Alex,
to NFL level here.
Yeah, Alex, you might have said, I apologize, I was typing, but you're participating in champs, yes?
Yes. Yeah. I'll be racing sport class.
Right.
Excellent. Excellent. We wish you all the best, and we're very excited. This is an amazing sport. Love to see one of these in person one of these days.
So I have to ask, since our last meeting, did you get all of your quads repaired? Are they ready to race?
I have them 4 working quads, and
Nice.
I'm almost finished building up 3 spare stacks.
Nice.
I just need to add LEDs to my quads because they are.
What are the LED requirements?
LEDs. Huh.
What
are the requirements for LEDs?
Oh yeah. So they did this year. They updated the rules for racing and require LEDs. The LED requirement is you must have.
Siri's trying to listen in.
Yeah, that's Siri. I don't know why it always picks up. It's really annoying.
Yeah, mine doesn't. Mine does that too.
Let's turn that off. Okay. Sorry about that. But the LEDs, you have to have at least 3 individual LEDs or 2 groups of 3 LEDs facing opposite directions. They can be solid color. You can have that, or they could flash. You can change whatever color you want.
So you don't have to
but
have a different color for each racer, and they tell you
no,
which
you don't
color
have
you're
to have a
doing or
different color
anything.
for each racer, mainly because this is the first year that it's an official rule. It's designed to be as easy to get in
Implement.
as you can.
Comply.
So then
Yeah.
what's the purpose of the lights exactly? Is it to help with spectators or for the judges or both?
A little bit of both. So it's also like another one of the things is mainly is partly for Scully, so he can, as he's calling the race, he can see who's who and
Who's
where.
who?
So the pilots register if they just have a solid color. They just register with the color they intend to fly with, and this way, when they're flying, depending on what heat they're in, Scully will see, oh, that's a green LED. That's Alex flying, or
Right.
whoever's flying with green LEDs.
Gotcha.
But if two
So-
pilots have the same LED color, that's also not going to be a problem or anything.
You get to the final round
is
and
how
4
it is.
people are all flying the same color.
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
That way I can
Well,
if there's a round that I'm in where all of us have the same LED color, just know mine's the one in front.
There you go.
dang, he's setting
Now-
the bar high already,
now-
guys.
Alex, there were multi GP champs in Korea, or what was that event?
So that was the FAI
Okay.
World Drone Championship that they were having. So that's a separate circuit, and
How did the
so
US
that's
how did the US fare?
the US got second.
It's great.
Korea got first, and who got third?
And Minjin was part of that South Korean team, wasn't he?
Yes, he was part of the South Korean team.
Fantastic.
And then, so yeah, I forget who got third. I should know that, but
Well, it was
We put you on
FAI.
the
It was in
spot
Kor-
there.
it was in Korea, and the US took a second place, which is fantastic.
yeah,
Okay, so we got, let's see,
Mason and or Hyper and
Japan.
okay, Japan was third. Okay,
So they had a couple different, and I'm just pulling this up and I'll just show this real quick since we've got some time. So let's see, share this. So overall winners, first was Minchan, second was Hashimoto Yuki from Japan, and then Victor Johnson. And then we've got for the female team, Wanraya Wanapong from Thailand, I'm assuming. Ting Yu Chao from Taipei, and then Luisa Rizzo from Italy. And then for junior, we had Min Jae Kim. Is that little brother?
No, be
Is somebody
careful there.
different?
You don't.
Huh?
My mom made the
Okay.
mistake of mixing them up before. Don't do
That's
that.
funny. So, and then we've got Jacob Capobreas from the USA for second for junior, and we had Silas Griever in third. So, good round out there for USA, and then national team first was Korea, second was USA, and third was Japan. So,
Is there a women's section in multi GP in the US, Alex, or is that just an FAI?
It's not separated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so everybody
Happy-
competes.
happier to see it integrated.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Cool.
One more quick question about remote ID from the YouTube chat. They're
Yeah.
asking, is it okay to use a single remote ID and switch it out? Thought the idea was a digital license plate that can't change license plates to different cars. I'm a noob in this regards on remote ID.
Great question.
So 100% okay to swap it out.
It's a little
Yeah,
different for
recreational.
Part 107, but
Right. If you're flying recreational.
Yep. So that's why we have this beautiful little connector here, right? So you can pull this out, swap it into a new one, and go fly. Because when you register your broadcast module, you are registering the serial number of this broadcast module. You're not registering your drone. So
yeah, you're registering that serial number to you. You're saying I own
Right,
this
so-
serial number.
Right. And so the cool thing is, and this is just like when you register for a recreational with the FAA as a recreational pilot, you're registering yourself not your drones.
Even
Whereas
though the
Part
FAA's
107
website tries really hard to convince you
Right.
to register all your drones, you don't have
Yes.
to.
Don't have to for
So you're
recreational.
registering yourself as the pilot and not your drones. Now, Part 107 is different. Part 107 requires you to register each individual drone. But this is tied to you and not to a drone. So if you want to use one unit and you want to swap it out between units, you are totally able to do that if you're flying recreational.
And technically, if you're a Part 107, you can unregister it from one drone, re-register it to another drone, probably pay $5.
$5.
And you could swap it if you wanted to.
Yep.
25
So-
or 25 or 25 adds up.
Definitely can do that as a recreational pilot.
Yeah,
All right.
even if you are a Part 107 pilot but flying a recreational flight, you can use that module on multiple drones.
Right.
Yep.
Good
100%.
question.
All right. So we got a couple of minutes left. Dan, anything to wrap us out for tonight?
Nope, I've got nothing new.
All right. Well, then, guys, we'll give you back a couple minutes of your evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. We super appreciate it. Please let us know how this format's working for you. This is the third or fourth time we've done this, so we're enjoying it. But definitely look to you guys for comments in YouTube. You can even hit us up in Discord in the middle of it. Somebody's looking at it, and if you've got questions or anything you want answered, just let us know, and we'll answer it during the live stream. And we've got more stuff coming, so we'll see you guys in another couple of weeks, and hopefully everybody's enjoying the cooler temperatures. I know I am. It's no longer 5,000 degrees in Phoenix. So have a great night, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Fly so high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Flying, get on board. We're smiling on top of the world. Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.